Story 1. It began with focusing on myself and healing after my last relationship. Now I have found comfort in being alone. It is peaceful, and dating feels like work. Story 2. The lack of meaningful success eventually wears you down and destroys your confidence and motivation. When every dating and relationship experience you have had is largely negative, you start to associate dating with negativity. It is hard to get any enthusiasm to do something when you cannot imagine a positive outcome because you have never had one. It is like if every time you went to stroke a dog it bites you. You know there are nice ones out there that won't bite you, and people keep telling you that you just need to meet the right one. However, the idea of getting bitten many more times until you do just isn't appealing. Story 3. I haven't put myself in social situations, besides the gym, to meet women over the past couple of years. I'm not into online interactions either. I need a genuine, down-to-earth connection. Story 4. I rely on dating applications because I do not enjoy activities that would enable me to meet women in real life. Additionally, the women on dating applications do not seem to be interested in dating me. Story 5.1. Lack of skills and knowledge in the dating department. As I grow older, I'm noticing that getting involved in relationships is a skill that requires time and practice to improve. Some individuals have it, while others have friends and acquaintances to help them through it. I had none, and at 30, I'm only now starting to figure things out for myself. Poor mental health. It's challenging to convince others you're a catch when you feel worthless. Women often find confidence and self-esteem to be the most attractive traits a man can possess. So when you lack in those areas, the odds of finding a woman interested in you are close to zero. Another aspect of poor mental health is that it impacts your ability to put yourself out there and feel motivated to try, not just in relationships but in other aspects of life as well. Time and money. As I grow older, I'm more aware of aspects 1 and 2, but nowadays, I have little time or energy to focus on them. I recently returned to university to earn a degree so I can secure a decent job. Between my classes, homework, part-time job, hobbies, and meeting with friends, I have very little time to meet women. I'm hoping that 3 years from now, once I finish my studies and obtain a decent job, I'll be in a better position to pursue women. In the meantime, I'm just coping as best I can and sometimes going to bed alone, crying myself to sleep. Story 6. I'm very selective, and the only girl I want to date doesn't want to. Any other girl doesn't interest me. Story 7. She didn't break my heart. She walked through my soul and carved her silhouette in it. It has been 3 years or more, and I am not getting any better. Story 8. I have become so disillusioned by the disrespect and hatred directed at me that I can no longer accept a sincere gesture of goodwill. Story 9. Here's a summary of my last 5 dates. 1. I met someone for lunch and everything was great. When I was leaving, the bartender mentioned that the lady is a serial dater and uses men for meals. True enough, I stayed until dinner, and she arrived with a different man. I did make a new male friend from that encounter. I faced racial abuse, being called low value, because I didn't want to take her to dinner after our coffee date. She was dissatisfied with the date and attempted to run me over with her car after I walked her back to it. We planned to meet at a game store for a Dungeons and Dragons session, but she ghosted me. We arranged a picnic and I prepared all the food. Again, she ghosted me. Overall, it's not worth the effort. It's amusing to hear women complain that men don't put in effort anymore, but from my perspective, it seems women do not bother to make an effort while expecting men to do all the work. Story 10. If this makes me seem shallow, think about it. Do you want a shallow person like me to date? Or is it better that I'm staying out of the dating pool? It works out for everyone. Disinterest mostly. There are not enough motivators to exchange my single, free-time lifestyle. It is not fair to the other person for me to date just to date, given this disinterest. Lack of trust. I just want honesty and communication. I literally say that if they want to break up, they should just be honest, and they will leave being one of my favorite people for being real. I just want closure. Yet I get ghosted even after promising that they hate liars and disloyal people. Each person's standards. Let's say I only like 5% of the single girls I talk to, but most of those girls don't like me back, which is perfectly fine. It's what I love about having personal preferences. Fair is fair, and I like that going both ways. It would create too many complications to invest in the ones who do like me back if I'm not completely sure, as I wouldn't want to waste our time and make things complicated. A relationship can be a huge time, money, and emotional investment. Considering I like being able to do what I want when I can, it has to be worth what I'm giving up. I liked going the extra mile in past relationships, but given how some ended, it is not very motivating when I can predict the person better than they can. I am perfectly happy if the other person decides to break up since I wouldn't want to force a one-sided relationship. I only ever ask for honesty and closure. So when someone makes a promise and then ends up ghosting, it makes me feel like I knew the person better after all, and I was being too hopeful in thinking maybe I was wrong. Story 11. I have spent over 25 years in relationships and have found that my life is much more enjoyable without one. In the last decade, I have not gotten past 3 dates because I am very careful to observe if they want more from me than they are willing to give in terms of time, effort, and money. Every time the answer is yes, I simply return to being single and socializing with my friends and their partners. I imagine the good women in my age group, around 50, are thinking similarly and realize they do not need a man to live well, just as I do not need a woman to do so. This leaves me with those who need me more than they truly want me. Story 12. Not making a lot of money. I am really tired of trying to prove my worth. Most people nowadays just want to waste your time until they get bored. I cannot handle facing the same problems or getting hurt again for the same reasons as before. Story 13. Where can a guy go to meet women without worrying about being labeled as creepy, weird, or inappropriate? This is just a rhetorical question to illustrate a point. Story 14. I want to wait until I remember what it would take to actually do it and the possibility that all I will get is abuse. Story 15. The modern way to meet people is depressing and impersonal. I deleted all dating applications from my phone. If that is how you meet people in 2024, I would rather stay single. Story 16. I currently don't know anyone I am interested in dating. Story 17. The girl I'm interested in is a workaholic, so she is often busy and also avoids physical touch due to past trauma. This makes it difficult since I am the opposite. However, slow progress is still progress, and my feelings are still present. Story 18. People share stories about abusive exes who cause them distress. I am currently not interested. Story 19. I haven't tried dating for several years. What has stopped me? To be honest, it's the complete lack of respect from women toward men these days. I firmly believe in mutual deep respect in a relationship, which seems to be non-existent. I just don't want to be part of it. The costs are too great for men, both emotionally and financially. Story 20. Dating apps exist to monetize loneliness by seemingly creating a shortcut to meaningful interactions. Story 21. I don't want to. I have learned to be kind, considerate, and fair. However, in return, I often encounter mixed signals, passive aggression, and the expectation to always pursue my partner while being the only one actively desiring her. I'm sorry, but that doesn't work for me. That behavior resembles a sociopathic predator who views a woman's reaction as irrelevant feedback, her arguments as obstacles to bypass, and her body as a goal that justifies any means to an end. I don't want a woman who can't express her desire for me, who finds enjoyment in being wanted, or who feels unattractive or insecure if my desire doesn't match hers intensely enough. I appreciate being a sensitive person who knows his partner is fully committed and doesn't have to read minds. Story 22. Time constraints and distance. I am about to go on a week-long trip soon, and then I will move 4 more hours north for college at the end of August. Story 23. Because we're not 6 feet tall, dark, and handsome with a six-pack and making at least 6 figures, that seems to be the criteria for women here in the West, even though there may be a 1 out of 10. Story 24. The kids constantly want to be fed, want me to unlock the Xbox, and want me to play outside with them. Don't they realize I just want to spend my days with their mom, preferably with minimal clothing on? Story 25. Because I am engaged in many activities that I enjoy, I am concerned that dating will take away time and resources from those pursuits. Story 26. A lack of mutual attraction. I don't think my standards are too high, but no women I am interested in want to date me. This is the story of my life. Story 27. Being unattractive, lacking confidence, and experiencing previous failures can be challenging. I understand that everything starts with confidence, but over time, it diminishes due to failures and disappointments. Story 28. I'm over this frustrating double standard where some women can put minimal effort into dating and achieve great results, while men must have their entire lives together before they even have a chance. It is disheartening to be desired for what I can provide rather than for who I am. Story 29. The dating phase, although necessary to begin a relationship, is extremely exhausting. It feels like you always have to be on, trying to impress someone and think of fun and exciting things to do, only to have it not work out a month or two down the road. Either they see something in you they don't like or vice versa. Also, I dislike when men are put through tests that women initiate while dating. They may test you by ghosting or in some other way. I recently deleted my online dating profiles and removed the apps from my phone entirely. It was so liberating. After going on a few dates with different women over a few months, it feels much better to come home from work and do things I enjoy that improve myself. I'm not saying I won't ever date again, but right now I have so much going on that it's certainly taking a back seat in my priorities. One last thing to mention about online dating. It always seems like a good idea at first, but usually ends up being something I regret. Creating a profile and posting pictures of yourself feels like trying to sell yourself to random women. It just makes me feel uncomfortable knowing that my photos are out there to be judged by people who are not perfect themselves. And then, of course, you receive messages from women who are completely the type of people you would avoid at all costs in real life. No, I'll take being alone. I value my peace. Story 30. I am never anyone's first choice. When I talk to a girl who seems interested, she takes a long time to respond because she is busy talking to someone more attractive and interesting than I am. I live in a big city where it is easy to find a perfect man who is wealthy, funny, and has many friends with just a 5-minute walk down the street. I feel like I can't compete. I am always included but never picked. Story 31. Not interested. It's easier to stay single, not to mention more peaceful. Additionally, I can come and go as I please and do whatever I want whenever I want. Story 32. Dating apps are not working for men. Putting yourself out there is not effective for women. There is a lingering impact from an ex. I am feeling exhausted. Story 33. It's not something that I currently seek out whenever I'm at bars. I've enjoyed organically meeting women over the last few years enough not to return to dating apps. It's a sort of if it happens approach. I'm just living life and enjoying it. Story 34. I still live with my parents and do not have a full-time job. I am currently stuck with a part-time position. I am facing challenges with my finances and self-confidence. I am working on addressing these issues. Story 35. I'm tired and I don't see the point. I need to dedicate at least an hour every day to going through multiple dating apps to get a few matches a week. I have to come up with plans for a first date only for it not to happen. On the incredibly rare occasion I get a date, 2 dates in over a year, I don't know what to do. I am socially awkward and have only been on 9 dates in my 30 years of life. I have no confidence that a woman would want me because no woman has before. I'm already tired from work, and it's draining to put in a lot of effort for no results on dating apps. Then the dates themselves are exhausting because of my anxiety. I'd rather just sit at home and recharge for the next workday. Sure, I want to experience love, cuddling, and intimacy, but at this point, I just don't think that's in the cards for me. Lastly, I'm struggling with depression and still trying to figure out what combination of medication works. Nobody needs to deal with my depressed and anxious self. Story 36. I'm awkward. I'm great with a group of people, but when I'm alone with a woman, I start stuttering. Story 37. Lack of social contacts and insufficient socialization are concerns for me. I am 36 years old, and the majority of women at my age are not single. I have already tried dating apps, but they did not yield good results. Story 38. My children. Many women see children as deal breakers, so I am looking for one who does not. Story 39. When I like them, they don't like me, and when they like me, I don't like them. Honestly, it is just a big waste of time and money for not much reward. I would rather invest that into my hobbies and interests that won't wake up one day and decide they don't love me anymore. Men that I see in public relationships never look like they are having fun. Most look stressed, run down, and tired. Story 40. Being overweight can lead to low self-esteem. However, you can still date if you are overweight, but you need self-esteem, confidence, and charm. These qualities make a significant difference. I am currently working on my weight. Story 41. I think much of dating these days is purposeful and utilitarian. However, the nature of love should be beautiful and aimless. Especially on some dating applications, I feel that many people enter relationships to meet their own psychological and physical needs without caring if the person is right for them. In contrast, I prefer more traditional ways of making friends. Recently, I have been sharing my daily life on a platform called Light Up, Make Real Friends. Through the content I post, the platform connects me with many individuals who have similar life experiences and interests, helping me establish contact with them. We share interesting aspects of life with each other or express our opinions on current events, and sometimes we meet offline. This experience makes me feel the friendliness and sincerity of genuine friendships. Story 42. My life currently consists of fixing and driving cars, going to the pub, and visiting family. I'll be going to marine engineering school soon. Definitely no women there. Story 43. I was in a committed 15-year relationship. We got married and had a child. I was in it until the end. Postpartum depression affected her significantly. She refused therapy or any form of help. Eventually, she divorced me. I was willing to work things out, but she was not. My understanding of relationships and marriage changed completely through all of that. It will take someone very special to convince me to trust another person that much again. I doubt it will happen. Story 44. I feel that I don't have much to offer to women. I'm not physically attractive, and I'm not good at flirting or being confident. It's not that I lack positive characteristics. I've received many compliments on various aspects of my personality. However, it seems those traits are not what women are looking for, and that's okay. I could likely find a girlfriend if I put in significant effort, but I don't believe it would be worth it, and I would probably feel some resentment for how hard I'd have to try. Story 45. The comfort of being alone, and when you give yourself a chance to date, you end up realizing why you should never try again. But look, I am still trying to date. Story 46. I have some toxic traits that I need to work on, and I am currently still working on them. There is so much to do and so little time. Story 47. I'm not where I want to be personally, so I'm not interested in devoting any time to another person when I could be focusing on myself. Story 48. But, like all things worth having, a relationship must be healthy and enduring, which requires work and effort. It does not simply happen. It becomes burdensome only when you are with the wrong person. Someone who is not willing to invest in you as much as you are willing to invest in them. Story 49. No one can tell me where to find women to date. It's not at the bar, gym, club, or church. Hobby meetups only have married couples and older individuals, or no women at all. There is nowhere to meet people unless you can set aside large amounts of time to travel to conventions. Story 50. The main issue is that I no longer have the energy or desire to date, which is what I have told my wife and partner when they asked why I don't. I don't understand why they think that, especially since they haven't dated anyone else in a few years for the same reason. I know that most women in my area wouldn't be compatible with me, and I am not going to search for the few that might be. I have a longtime friend who wanted me to spend a weekend with her. I only had one condition. She has a history of excessive drinking, especially when I was around her, but I stopped getting drunk years ago. I told her that the only way I would visit her was if she didn't drink for the weekend. I have never been intimate with someone who had been drinking excessively. I want people to be present with me, not impaired by alcohol or drugs, unless we are in a long-term relationship and have consented to it beforehand. She couldn't promise that she wouldn't drink, which meant she would likely be drunk, so I told her that I couldn't visit. That was the closest I have been to a date in 7 or 8 years. Story 51. The fact that you can have a wonderful, though not perfect, healthy relationship and it can suddenly end all because the other person is bored, does not want to be intimate, and lacks the courage to communicate, thereby driving a wedge into the relationship. Whether it is 10 weeks, 10 months, or 10 years from now, it is more than likely to happen. Story 52. I have feelings for someone right now who says they are not ready for a relationship. I just can't seem to get myself to be truly interested in any other girl. It's driving me crazy. Story 53. Why date when you can go out for a sparring session, take your motorcycle to the mountains, go swimming, work out, or pursue your hobbies? My mental health has been declining for a while, and it continues to get worse. Story 54. I struggle to engage in intimate relationships, and various concerns hold me back from connecting with others at times. Story 55. Ever since I can remember, I have been shy with girls. I am 40 now and have only been in 2 relationships. I do not feel particularly sad about it, but I am not too happy either. I guess dating is just difficult for some people. I have done a lot of thinking about why it has been like this for me, and the only logical answer I can come up with is that I have low self-esteem. It is true, I do have low self-esteem, ever since I was a teenager. I am hopeful that if I build up my self-esteem, my dating experience will improve as well. It makes sense. If I am not comfortable with myself or love myself enough, I cannot expect others to feel comfortable around me or even like me. We project our self-esteem and others can sense it. Anyway, that is why I do not date. I need to work on myself first. Story 56. It is simply not worth it anymore. Dating is a grinding misery, and the prize you receive at the end is a relationship with someone who will only make your life a different kind of grinding misery. Some women from Generation Z and the millennial generation can be deeply disappointing. Why would I spend years of time, money, heartache, and headache to be with an entitled, selfish, dishonest, disloyal, disrespectful, insulting, contemptuous, childish, and completely unaccountable person? Yes, there are rare women who do not match this description, but they are not actively participating in the dating market. What is available are people who do not reflect positive qualities. The return on investment for the whole experience is overwhelmingly negative. It is not worth it. Story 57. Women in my country are socialized into a specific female archetype that I do not support. Premarital sex is completely out of the question. I cannot find anyone worth my time, which is frustrating. Story 58. I decided I wasn't going to date anymore until I had close to a 6-figure income, since many women are now focused on that. I don't want to have yet another multi-year relationship that ends when they find someone with more money. I feel like I need to take a close look at my previous spending. Story 59. The woman I am currently seeing is the reason I do not like being in a relationship. What started as an agreed-upon casual relationship built on respect for each other's lives has turned into a full-blown relationship that demands too much time and effort. Suddenly she is talking about long-term plans. I am 60. There is no long-term for me. I am content with just enjoying each other's company, having great intimacy, and traveling a bit. I do not need to plan the next weekend schedule or worry about hurting her feelings if I want a weekend to myself. 3 years have passed, and I do not foresee a 4th in our future. Story 60. I connected with several women, and I would definitely take it to the next level with some of them. However, many of them seem to have obvious trauma or untreated mental health issues that affect their feelings and actions. They are acting like teenagers in their mid-20s, which is a major turnoff. The only one who seemed normal was a 34-year-old woman, but she made it clear she wanted things to be casual. Story 61. I competed in diving at the Olympics, but for some reason, not many people were fans of my dive. Story 62. After a while, I realized I didn't really enjoy the company of other people for long. Building and maintaining relationships takes so much effort. Meanwhile, the option to pay for sex exists. Story 63. I have limited money to spend on multiple nights out with friends. Since most of my friends are in relationships, there are fewer people to hang out with in pubs. I have noticed that women do not engage in conversation if you are by yourself. Once I resolve my financial situation in a few months with a job upgrade, I plan to rejoin some meetup groups to socialize again. In the meantime, I am using dating apps to meet new people. Story 64. Mostly housebound due to myalgic encephalomyelitis while trying to manage my recent autism diagnosis. I am also likely moving to a new city sometime soon. Story 65. I got burned by trusting someone too early. I am taking time off to reflect and ensure that I approach future relationships with a healthy mindset on partnership. Story 66. My motives. I just want to be loved, but I'm not sure if I can reciprocate in a healthy way. I also struggle with the fear of rejection and failure. Story 67. I don't have the courage to take the first step. I've received interest on dating apps, but I don't act on it because I feel uncertain about what to do. I am too critical of myself, so I tend to see myself as boring and flawed, and I worry about getting hurt or rejected. I don't meet many people because I primarily just work and go home. Story 68. I don't know how to start. I see attractive women all the time, but I get too nervous to approach them. Story 69. I have better things to invest my time and energy in. I am already overwhelmed by life, and dating feels like a tremendous amount of work. Even finding a date takes an immense mental toll. Story 70. I don't know how to approach dating, and my lack of interest in casual hookups disqualifies dating apps for me. Throughout past relationships, I never really experienced a talking stage, and I don't have hobbies that would help me meet many women. On top of all this, I'm financially struggling and feel very anxious around people I don't know, which makes things even harder. Story 71. Back on the market after 10 years. I don't have the time right now. I am focusing on finishing my degree one assignment at a time, getting through projects at work, training, being a dad, purchasing a house, and meeting new people and making new friends. I haven't properly cleared my mind after my last relationship. I don't want to use someone to validate that I am desirable and lovable after spending years with someone who denied their attraction to men. I really don't want to waste someone's time or investment. I know firsthand how much that can hurt. Story 72. As a young man, my focus is on finance and career progression. I've noticed that most girls my age either settle down with a few guys who are more advanced in their careers, date older men, or choose not to pursue relationships for similar reasons. Story 73. I honestly do not know. I have had a challenging time recently with unemployment and Lyme disease, but I am now in a much better place. I have spent a lot of the last few years really focusing on my listening skills, socializing, chatting with women, being generous with compliments, and staying true to myself. I have worked hard on my fitness, I take care of myself, and I lead an outgoing and interesting life. However, it seems that no one is interested. Story 74. My trust issues, fear of getting cheated on, fear of falling in love, and the possibility of becoming the laughingstock of the town because everyone has already been with this girl make me feel that I would rather be alone. At least I have peace. Story 75. I lack interest. I don't care about anything other than being intimate with them, and once I'm done, I become bored. Meeting for casual encounters on hookup apps or attending social parties satisfies my needs, so why bother with all the drama? Story 76. I am trying to improve myself by eating better and working out because I want to look better before I start dating. I am 22 years old and have never had a girlfriend, so I can wait a few more months or even a year before I begin. It is also challenging to date as a Christian because many people expect sex right away, and even fellow religious individuals often do not want to wait. Story 77. I've been content being single for the past 4 years that I don't feel like putting effort into actively dating at my age, 40, after a 10-year marriage. If I happen to meet someone while I'm out living my life, that's great. If not, that's fine too. However, I'm not using dating apps, approaching strangers at bars, or asking friends to set me up, so the dates I do go on are fairly sporadic. Story 78. My face, extreme social anxiety, introversion, and autism contribute to the feeling that I am not particularly interesting. Story 79. My mortality, lack of wealth, absence of my own residence, need for 8 hours of sleep each day, and personal preferences. Story 80. Not sure of the medical term, but I refer to it as avoiding excessive authoritarian negativity, estrogen, and an overwhelming amount of oblivious narcissism. I want a longer response, but words like bliss, happiness, and tranquility were too broad. Story 81. I am currently working on my master's thesis and don't need distractions. As a student, I don't feel financially confident. I recently returned from a long trip in South America. I am not feeling very healthy, as I am recovering from a herniated disc and I lost muscle and gained weight during the 9 months I was dealing with the injury. I am also feeling somewhat depressed. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and some friends have recently told me that I have been acting inappropriately. In my last relationship, which lasted 5 months, I broke my ex's heart because I was somewhat emotionally unavailable. Before that, my ex broke up with me because she had more ambition than I did, and we were at different stages in life. I have had many girls pursue me, but things seem to fall apart once they get to know me better. Therefore, I have decided to spend some time alone and work on my personal development, primarily addressing the issues mentioned above. Additionally, I have outgrown the enjoyment of one-night stands. Story 82. There was a girl who fundamentally shaped the type of girl I like, very specific. I was much younger at the time. I was quite strange, and I didn't know how to express myself. I came off as weird and somewhat obsessive at times. After we went to different schools, she got a boyfriend within a few months. That was tough, but there was nothing I could do about it. After that, I became a computer engineering and science student and have only known about 5 girls in the past 4 years. I will soon be enlisting in the military, which definitely limits my opportunities. Story 83. I got burned in my last relationship, and I think part of me is still getting over it almost a year later. I dated for a while but faced many failures, so I took a break. Now I'm feeling good again, so hopefully, I can start dating soon. Story 84. I have back and hip problems. Sitting or standing for long periods is painful, so dates do not really work. Story 85. Multiple factors contribute to my dating challenges. 1. Dating friends is off limits for me. Whenever I develop feelings for a friend, I become anxious around them. They can sense that something is wrong. If I ask them out and they decline, I still want to maintain our friendship, but a week later, they often stop communicating with me altogether. 2. I have tried dating apps, but ultimately, they did not work for me. The first person I matched with wanted me to spend £300 to travel across the country to meet them, covering train and hotel expenses. The second person bullied me, and I have shared that experience in one of my posts. I find it challenging to message people, which adds to my stress, and I often end up making mistakes. 3. Public settings are also too stressful for me. I do not drink, so I do not go out to pubs, which are a significant part of the culture in the UK and a common way for people to meet. 4. My interests are unconventional. While people online are accepting of them and find them normal, discussing anime and games in real life can be difficult, especially with friends, let alone when trying to flirt with someone. I feel like I am stuck in a difficult situation. I could keep trying with all these possibilities, but the process leaves me feeling incredibly stressed and depressed. Story 86. I am 26 years old and have focused on my career since I was 18. I have sacrificed my social life to become financially comfortable. As a result, I do not go out often because I struggle with social awareness and understanding social cues. Additionally, I have experienced general depression since high school, which affects me significantly. Story 87. I don't go out and put myself out there, and everyone on dating apps seems to be looking for someone younger. Story 88. I am about 3 months out of a 3-year breakup. I am much older, heavier, and earn very little money. The excessive commercialization of dating applications seems to have destroyed their genuine usefulness for someone like me to find compatible partners. I feel like I have a lot of work to do to become the person I want to be for future partners. Story 89. I became tired of the unrealistic expectations that women in my age group have. After a while, it seemed better for me to give up dating altogether. Perhaps one day someone will appear to change that, but I'm content with who I am right now. Story 90. I am waiting until I officially become a software engineer before I consider the possibility of dating. Story 91. I have no desire to live with another person again. I was married for nearly 14 years and have been divorced for about 6. The only aspect of a relationship with a woman that interests me is the potential for regular intimacy. But my previous relationships taught me that regular intimacy in a relationship is uncommon. I finished paying alimony about a year ago, and I am finally able to start enjoying some degree of financial freedom. I can buy much more intimate time with a companion for the $1,500 a month I paid my ex in alimony than I ever received from her, and I will not have to tolerate her abusive behavior or any of her other issues. Story 92. My self-hatred and inability to accept reality lead me to think that every sign of interest is a joke or a bet. Story 93. I am focused on finding a new job while also working on renovating my home. I have limited time and money, and after my experiences with dating, I don't feel very optimistic either. Story 94. Our kids. It's like Mission Impossible trying to get a night out with 6 little gremlins running around. Story 95. Lack of options is a significant concern. I have always faced challenges in this area due to being on the autism spectrum, which has led to underdeveloped social skills and confidence. This situation tends to worsen as one ages. Story 96. Peace and tranquility come from my efforts to get out of debt rather than falling deeper into it. I also work 2 jobs and take care of my 82-year-old mother, leaving me with limited time. Story 97. I don't want to connect with anyone after my ex left. After having a deep relationship, starting again feels unappealing. It has been 2 years, and I have no interest in seeing anyone at all. Story 98. I met a good girl whom I hurt for various reasons I will not discuss. I am doing the inner work so a flower can bloom next time, rather than an onion. Story 99. There's only so much time in a day. From exercising, reading, and building my life from scratch at 27 years old, I've learned what is and isn't important to me. Something that has taken a back seat. Previous experiences with partners who gaslight or were unfaithful taught me that those situations often don't add up. It's less drama to deal with that, so I focus on my own path. Story 100. My ex, the mother of my children, and my children are currently living with me due to the housing situation in my city, and I am fairly certain that this would be a deal breaker for most women. However, my last relationship was disastrous, so a break from dating is probably in order. Story 101. Motivation. I have experienced enough dates and subsequent rejections that I lost the motivation to try again, at least for a while. Story 102. I have tried plenty of times and nothing worked. It's about me now. I am no longer looking, but if something were to happen, I would go for it. However, I am not holding my breath. Story 103. I want to die alone with no ceremony, just me in the wild nature. Me in a hole, the breeze, and some of my favorite songs as the last mental comfort as I lie there, quietly, closing my eyes and waiting for my life to end, taking those final little steps. Story 104. My weight, my teeth, my personality. I struggle with empathy. I used to have a lot, but recently it feels like it has dried up. My memory. I struggle with loving someone again. Story 105. This is probably going to be a common answer, but I just don't feel attractive or desirable. Story 106. I have to go back to the country I want to live in. I refuse to engage with the non-existent dating pool in the United States. Story 107. I don't have a good reason not to. I feel some anxiety about it, but it's much better than before I started therapy a year ago. I'm barely 20, so I just need to start. Story 108. Bipolar disorder. I still have a static and emotionless life ahead of me. Tell me if you have seen this before. I would really like to know how common this actually is, since no one has ever told me that. Story 109. Honestly, logistics. I was in a relationship a while back. Between my kids and work, there wasn't a lot of time left to nurture a relationship. She was an amazing woman who wanted to progress the relationship and made reasonable requests for more of my time, but I couldn't make that work. My time is still pretty scarce, so I don't want to get into a relationship and feel like I'm wasting someone else's time. Story 110. Like many other men here, I simply don't want to. I have no desire to be loved, and I enjoy spending time alone these days. Story 111. I feel overwhelmed by many of the challenges I face. What scares me most about dating is the complete emotional and physical vulnerability. It terrifies me. Story 112. I value my inner peace more than a relationship that may not last. Being single is much less stressful. Story 113. I am tired, boss. It seems like I do not have time. Between work, the gym, hobbies, and other daily activities, my schedule is packed and I am always busy. Story 114. It's just me. I keep making excuses not to get out there and talk to people, and I'm tired of it. Please suggest a place I should go to meet women, and I will go. Story 115. I live with my ex. She cannot afford her own place, and I do not want to pay $1,600 a month. She is reliable when it comes to bills. I decided to save up and pay off my debt. Story 116. I have moved away from dating and focused more on traditional mindsets and personal goals. The rampant dishonesty and disloyalty I encountered, along with the overwhelming number of women with attitude problems, completely turned me off from dating. People's social interactions and presumed expectations of one another have become absurd, making the entire concept of dating seem utterly pointless to me. Story 117. Cancer. I really want to be dating and have matched up with some attractive individuals on the apps, but I'm about to start receiving radiation treatment to the face. It feels inappropriate knowing that I could be just a few weeks away from being on pain medication and a feeding tube. Story 118. I moved away from the big city I was in for the past 15 years, leaving my friends and social circle to return home and take care of myself. It's in the middle of nowhere, literally in the woods, and I don't really know anyone here or have things in common. I'm not in an ideal position for dating someone right now, but hopefully in a year or two, I will be able to move back, buy a piece of land, get a prefabricated house, and be in a better position when I meet someone. Right now, I'm living with my parents, and while this situation is challenging, I can pay off significant bills and save afterwards. I dated someone from the United States last year. As much as I loved her, and still do, we had nowhere for us to call our own, and I understand her leaving. If I had been ready, I think it would have worked out. But going forward, I plan to move between two major cities, and I doubt anyone would want to move from those cities to live with me. Who knows what the future will bring? If love comes back my way, I will welcome it when I'm ready. For now, I'm focusing on work, and when I'm not working, I'm walking. Story 119. I have failed too often, so I'm taking a break. I want to focus on university first. I would also prefer to improve my finances beforehand, as they are important to me, especially in relationships. However, finances are not a priority. Story 120. No one wants me. I have been on the apps again and haven't made any matches after 2 weeks. Every woman I have met that I thought I clicked with just wants to be friends. I wish I were normal so I would have a chance, or maybe lobotomized so I wouldn't care. It's frustrating seeing friends get married and have families while I am left here wondering why I even try. Story 121. Smart people and unselfish people. I think there are no more bearable sites for meeting pen pals, friends, or dates. Just look at how plenty of fish and other platforms have turned into disappointment. I know many people who want nothing to do with a shallow dating app. Story 122. The challenges of online dating are daunting. I probably should meet women in person, but to be honest, I am not very eager to do so. I would rather stay single and be happy than be miserable while trying to date. Story 123. Not wanting to expose myself to COVID. I believe that putting myself out there probably won't result in much positive attention as a middle-aged cisgender heterosexual man. However, it would definitely involve the risk of getting sick from being around people often. Story 124. I feel overweight and insecure, while everyone my age either has a job or is halfway through graduate school. I am still struggling to find my path. Story 125. I'm terrified I don't offer enough. I live with my parents, as do most of my close friends, but still. I'm back in school and working, potentially starting a new job. So when do I have time for someone new? I'm trying to better myself, but what if that isn't as attractive as someone who has everything together? Story 126. Honestly, I am a bit pessimistic. I feel it would end in failure either way, and I believe most people out there wouldn't be a good match for me. I value my liberty and self-reliance. Story 127. I'm in the middle of an international move. When I'm settled in my new country, it will be because I am not sufficiently proficient in the language to make it work. In other words, I have a lack of motivation. Story 128. I am a widower with 2 school-age children and a career that occupies most of my time when I am not driving them to school, activities, and events. There are no single women in my age range that I feel comfortable having around my children. The time, money, and effort required for dating are not worth it considering what is out there. Story 129. I began treating every woman I could date as a rebound, projecting the baggage from my previous relationship onto them. It was incredibly toxic, and I had to stop after burning a few bridges. Even though the relationship ended over a year ago, I realized I still needed time to heal. Story 130. I'm still grieving the loss of my husband of 17 years. He died 2 years ago. I'm trying to live my life, but it's not the same without him. Partly, I don't feel lovable, and partly, I don't want to share myself with someone else again. I'm told time heals all wounds, but I have my doubts. Story 131. I have been focusing on myself and appreciating the results. I am starting to put myself out there again, hoping something will happen. I realized I'm too young at 25 to feel desperate. Story 132. As much as my confidence has increased over the past year, I still feel a sense of doubt, wondering if others truly want to be with me. This thought holds me back. I also value my peace, making it complicated to pursue something that might disrupt it. Story 133. I got lucky and met someone recently. For a long time, I felt the sense of hyper-individuality that some women have now. It's difficult to build a relationship with someone who is primarily focused on themselves or who views a relationship as a threat to their identity. The woman I'm seeing now remains very independent and pursues her own interests, but she clearly indicates that she sees what we're building together as an addition to her life rather than a threat. Story 134. I am Asian. There are strict rules around dating which can keep both parties feeling sane and insane at the same time. I've always wondered how kisses feel and what it's like to have butterflies in my stomach. Story 135. Having a boyfriend. The issue of male loneliness has made dating men quite easy. If I don't want to spend a weekend alone, I can use location-based social media to connect with guys. Then we go out and do things together. I took one guy fishing, played board games with another, and hiked with a colleague. Once, I was invited as a stranger to someone's birthday party. It's very easy to meet men today. Story 136. No one wants me. I put myself out there and no one seems to want me. I guess I'm just not anyone's type. What women want these days I don't have, so it has become a waste of my time. I'm not going to continue fighting a losing battle. Story 137. Never really worked out for me when I was younger, so I took a few years off to better myself. Now I found comfort in my current life, and being solo, I find that dating isn't worth it. There are too many expectations and rules these days. I'm hoping this will change if I meet the right person, but I'm in no rush. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.